Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video. Welcome to episode 71 of Ask Bossk's Bounty. This is of course the weekly series that drops every Sunday where you guys ask me questions in the comment section below and I do my very best to answer them each week. If you do have a question for next week's episode, be sure to leave it in the comment section below to keep this series going. I've got a bunch of cracking questions again this week from you guys, so I'm going to do some of those in quickfire format just to get through them all, but it's going to be another bumper episode. But before we get on to the first question, I did just want to point out the most recent wave of the vintage collection figures which I managed to get this week. I've been doing reviews of them. I think by the time this video drops, the Boba Fett, Leia and possibly the child video will be up with the Grief Karga and Zutton reviews to come, so please watch those if you wouldn't be so kind. That would be awesome to support the channel. You can pre-order this latest wave from Entertainment Earth. I will leave my affiliate link in the description below, and if you order anything through that I get a very, very small commission and it all goes to supporting the channel. So thank you very much for anyone that has done that previously, or if you plan to do it in the future, I will greatly appreciate it. If you do happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like down below, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's get straight on to the first question. Johnny Star Wars says, Weequay Skiffmaster, do you think that this figure might be a coming soon re-release as new stock has turned up with Tungori for a very old figure? Congratulations on the 15k. Thank you very much, Johnny Star Wars. Johnny Star Wars has his own YouTube channel and he is currently doing a Jabba's Palace diorama, which is pretty damn awesome if I do say so myself. He's talking about the Weequay Skiffmaster that I did manage to get off Tungori.com. And yeah, it's a bit of a strange one that he's suddenly got these in. It could be set for a re-release. However, all the figures that I kind of know about that are upcoming, he isn't included in any of those. So it would be a surprise to me if he was. But maybe later in the year, he might be in another repack wave. We don't know. But yeah, it is strange that he suddenly got a load of them. They're still on there now for sale if you wanted to pick one up. And I think it's $20, which is an absolute bargain. Sci-Fi says, quick question, Tim. Just recently picked up the 6-inch Jar Jar. It's the only Phantom Menace so far. How about a Watto? Absolutely. I would love a Watto figure in the vintage collection primarily. But if he's going to come in the 6-inch line as well, I would buy that one as well. I'm a big fan of Watto just like you, mate. I think he's a great character. Rob Sinfield says, hi Tim, thanks for the regular content. Just wondering the approximate size of your 3.75-inch figure collection. Mine is approaching the 900 mark. Cheers, Rob. That's a decent amount, I've got to say. I had a bit of a count up just to try and do an estimate, and I've counted my vintage Star Wars and my modern 3.75, and then I also included all of my carded versions of those as well, and it's nearing 1,000. I think I've probably got about 500 or 600 loose figures, maybe more, and then a bunch of carded figures. I've got multiples of some of the vintage collection, all the revenge cards. You know, there's nearly 200 vintage collection figures now. So, yeah, nearly 1,000 figures. It's unbelievable when you count them, isn't it? Matthew Martin says, do you think Hasbro is creating artificial scarcity to keep pricing up and have collectors scrambling to get everything in case they miss out? I really don't think that, no. I think there is an issue with distribution and things like that. But at the end of the day, Hasbro isn't going to profit from the secondary market at all. If a figure gets sold for $100, $80 more than it's worth, and then that person sells it for another $100 on top of that a year later, Hasbro makes no money from that whatsoever. That's between people and people, you know. The way they're missing out is the original release not being sold as much as it could, and that will be costing them money at the end of the day. The Celestial Toy Gazer says, I'm thinking of getting my first vintage collection figure. Which do you recommend for someone who loves the prequels, especially the clones? I would have to say this one, VC45. It's still available to buy now. It is re-released. It's a decent Phase 1 clone. You can get loads of them, army build them. It's very affordable. So that would be my choice. If you like the Phase 2 clones, then you're going to have a bit of a problem because most of them on the secondary market are really, really expensive. Herminator06, question for next week. Is there a Black Series figure you would love to see a vintage Kenner interpretation of, like with the Kenobi and Greedo and Jawa? Love your videos. Keep up the good work and congrats on 15k subs. Thank you very much, my friend. Yeah, without being too obvious and saying Bossk, I would probably say Walrus Man would be a good one, I think. Just purely because of the weird colours that he came in with the original vintage Kenner one. A 6-inch version of him would look very odd, but I think it would be a good throwback. 83 says, what are the odds that we will get all the 96 in 3 different sizes? I would probably say from 0 to none. That would not happen. Jay Rowley says, hey Bossk, big fan from Australia. Do you think they will re-release some of the harder to find characters from Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith when their anniversaries come around? Thanks, mate. I don't really think so necessarily. I don't think Hasbro have done a very good job with the anniversaries. I've said this before, they did virtually nothing for The Empire Strikes Back, so would they bother with Revenge of the Sith? You know, your guess is as good as mine. And I don't really think that they'd bring out or reissue characters based on their value or how hard they are to find. How they came up with Peasant Anakin and Queen Amidala, I will never know, but they always seem to look at the main characters and what have you. Having said that, the next round of reissues does have the Imperial Royal Guard in it, which is kind of rare and hard to find, so that'll be a good release. Jose Jamie Orozco says, hey Bossk, awesome as always. My question for you is, what is the ultimate Han Solo, and would you like or think we will ever get a Han Solo set like the Jedi Destiny 3-pack? That's not a bad shout, actually, a Han Solo 3-pack. I could imagine a sort of Evolutions pack, maybe, where you got the young Han Solo from Solo, then you got Han Solo from the original trilogy, and then you got the older Han Solo from the sequel trilogy. I think they may have missed the trick on that already. They could have done that, you know, before, and I couldn't see that happening. Now, in terms of the best Han Solo, I still think the one from the VOTC is up there, which is why it kind of needs redoing, because if you're thinking about a figure from 2004 being the best Han Solo, it's, you know, that's a stark reminder that we need a new Han Solo. Having said that, this is a bit cheating, really. I think this is probably the best Han Solo that we've got at the moment. It's certainly my favourite. The head sculpt's really good, but of course he's in a Stormtrooper outfit, so it doesn't really count. If we're talking about Smuggler Han Solo on the Star Wars card, then yeah, this is probably still the best one, but I think we need a new one. Dan Von Carr says, question for next week, when a figure is re-released, is it safe to assume we won't get a new sculpt or better version anytime soon? Yeah, I think that is probably safe to assume. Unfortunate, isn't it? Captain Rex, probably going to have to wait a while for a new one of those. They're repacking the Han Solo in Endor, which could have really done with an update, so that one isn't going to be coming anytime soon. So yeah, I think that's safe to assume. You're right. Christopher Weiber says, great video as always, Tim. Question for next week. With the recent emergence of Ewoks in the vintage collection with the repack Wicket last year and Paplu and another rumoured one for this year, do you think Hasbro might be gearing up for an Ewok playset to celebrate the Return of the Jedi anniversary? An updated village would be pretty awesome. Thanks and cheers, mate. I think you're absolutely right, Christopher. I totally agree with you. An Ewok village would be awesome. I would love that in the vintage collection. And there is loads of Ewoks around, as you mentioned. There's new ones coming out. We've got plenty of Ewoks, so I think that's pretty cool. They did have that Ewok 2-pack, and they had the catapult in the vintage collection before. So I wish they would revisit those sorts of things and give us more of those kinds of things. Little mini playset with the bunker or something. Bring out the speeder bike. There's so much they could do with Endor, and we'll just have to wait and see what they do. But yeah, the release of so many Ewoks could indicate that something like that is on the way. James Wilson says, great video as always, boss. Keep up the good work. Question for next week. How do you think Hasbro will handle VC176, the one they skipped? Do you think it will be released as part of a larger future wave, or perhaps by itself as a fan channel exclusive, or maybe part of a playset? Thanks for all you do for the collector community. Thank you, James. 176, I was having a bit of a discussion with Jason from Yakface and the guys on my live stream on Saturday night. I will leave a link to that live stream in the description below if you missed it. I was talking about VC numbers, but I was more concerned about VC188 because that is the one that's between these guys and those Walmart exclusive ATST driver, Paplu and Leia. There's one number missing, VC188. So it's either going to be some exclusive or, as you say, packed in a playset, but we just do not know yet. VC176, again, I think they'll just put a figure on that number in the future. I don't think Hasbro are as precious with the numbers as we are, frankly. And yeah, so it could be anything. Dean Birch says, great video, brothers. On a scale from 1 to 10, how guilty do you feel when opening an older non-vintage collection figure, especially when the package is minty? I have a hard time doing it. I don't feel too guilty about it, to be honest, because the only figures I really want to keep on card are the vintage collection ones, just because it's from my youth. I'm not really too bothered about, you know, legacy collection packaging and things like that, 30th anniversary. Happy to open those. I'd rather have the figure loose than on the card, if I'm honest. A couple of questions about the gaming greats now, and the first one is from Yoda08, and he says, hey boss, congratulations on 15,000. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you very much, my friend. Question for next week. Do you think that in the rumoured vintage collection gaming greats line that they will just release the same figures as in the Black Series line, or will they make other figures too? I really don't think that it will mirror the Black Series 100%. I think the first one that we've got rumoured from Jason at Yakface is going to be the Scout Trooper from Jedi Fallen Order, which of course has been released in the Black Series. But I just think it's more about what sculpts they've got and what they can repaint, because I think the Gaming Greats to begin with is just going to be repaints. So I can see lots of Stormtrooper repaints, Scout Trooper repaints, those kind of things. And then if the line is successful, then maybe we can see like a Cal Kestis or a Second Sister or something like that. And the second question about the Gaming Greats comes from Argent05. He says, congrats on reaching 15k subscribers. Been a follower since before you even reached 1,000. Thank you, mate. My question is, would you like to see more Gaming Greats figures in the near future? For example, Cal Kestis or a repack of Starkiller? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I say, if the Gaming Greats is successful, which I hope it is, because that's only good for the line if that is the case, then I'd like to see loads of different characters from all the different games from over the years. Of course, for me, that's a no-brainer. More figures is more figures. I was just going to say then, I don't really care what property they come from and what media they come from, but I do. But if you're going to give me more of something, then I'm not going to argue. Zodiac Collector says, awesome video, mate. Question for next week. Do you think we'll get any 3-packs this year, like how we got the ARC Trooper 3-pack last year? I think we will. They've done them the last few years, haven't they, since the Vintage Collection's come back with the Jedi Destiny, the ARC Troopers, and the Afra set. And we had that Luke Skywalker set in Dagobah as well, which wasn't overly great, I must admit. But yeah, I can see one coming again this year, which would be awesome. And fingers crossed for the Bo-Katan and Costa Reeves and her other buddy. That would be an awesome 3-pack. Tanner Smith says, hey Tim, love hearing your opinion on things and what other people are thinking. My question is, out of all of the main Jedi in games, who would you want to be released more in the Vintage Collection? Starkiller, Cal Kestis, or the one I hope for, Karl Katarn? I think I'd have to pick Cal Kestis because I've recently just finished the game and I loved it and it's a great character. So yeah, I would like to see him in the Vintage Collection. Steve Luther says, hi, I recently got back into collecting Star Wars figures and your channel has been invaluable to me. That's great news. Thank you, mate. I have 2 questions if you're able to answer them. What do you think are the chances of getting a Savage Opress in the Vintage Collection? And have you bought any of the Trooper Army Builder lots from China on eBay? If so, are they worth getting? Many thanks. If you can answer these questions, keep up the good work. I don't really have an opinion on whether Savage Opress, I think that's how you pronounce it, is going to be in the Vintage Collection or not. It's one of those figures where I can understand why people would want it. I just wouldn't be able to predict if they would do that or not. In terms of the Trooper Army Builder ones, I think they're 6-inch figures, aren't they? And I think they're a little bit dodgy. They're bootlegs rather than sort of factory errors like the Tungori site. So if it was me, I personally wouldn't buy them. But I've never had any in hand, so I can't really say for sure if they're any good or not. Bill Pork says, on the Razor Crest coming out, what add-on or part of the Razor Crest detail are you looking forward to the most? He cannot wait for the weapons locker. Yeah, man, the weapons locker. That's going to be awesome with all the individual weapons. But I'm really looking forward to seeing the cockpit. And I think the Mando's going to look so good in there with the child sitting next to him. It's just going to look awesome. Adam Guggenheim says, question, since there seem to be a lot of people not loving the paint on the Beskar Mandalorian, and that's the one that will go in the Razor Crest, is there any comments going to Hasbro to make it better? Well, if I'm brutally honest, I thought I was the only person that was really disappointed with that figure. I saw some other reviews and they didn't really mention it. It's a silver rather than a Beskar colour on that particular figure. It's certainly not like the battle damaged one with the Mando build-up pack with the child. I much prefer that version. Will those comments get back to Hasbro and make it better? I very much doubt it. Alright then guys, that's it for another week. That's episode 71 done and dusted. Thank you very much for watching this video. Drop a like down below if you've enjoyed it. Leave your questions for the next week's episode and we shall see you on the next one.